And just taking a few moments, maybe placing one hand on your heart, one on your belly. So this week, just during our classes, during our mini meditation session, we've been just creating a little bit more breath awareness. So when we're feeling anxious or stressed, we very much just breathe into the chest, so we have more strain in the neck. And something that I suggested in a little video yesterday was that when you walk through a doorway as you move through your day, take a deeper, longer, slower breath. That cue, reminding you to breathe deeper. So as we lay on our yoga mat, as we start our practice, usually just coming to our mat, it's that cue to our brain, to our body, to breathe deeper, to be more mindful. So take this opportunity to breathe deeper, that settling, that reset for our nervous system. Feel the support of the floor, the mat beneath you. Let your shoulders settle onto the mat. Let that low back settle onto the mat. Feel where your heels connect to the mat. And as you breathe, feel the ribs on the back body gently press into the mat with your in-breath. And maybe release that breath out with a sigh. So that audible sigh, that release, tones the vagus nerve. And again, that reset to our nervous system that all is well. So releasing the out breath with a sigh. Feeling that back body grow just a little heavier on the mat. Feeling, hearing that audible sigh. That release. So as we physically release the breath, I want you to mentally release something. Releasing a repetitive thought, a samskara, a thought that no longer serves you, a conditioning, just a pattern. Let that breath be deeper. Let the breath be slower. And as you move through your day, just give yourself that gift of that deeper, slower breath. So again, just that little reminder that when we can breathe, take that deep breath as we move through a doorway. You have that physical cue, that little reminder to breathe deeper. So we're going to walk our feet back towards our bottom, and we're going to start just with a very gentle inhale, pressing the tailbone into the mat. Exhale, just press that low back to the mat. Inhale, the tailbone presses. Exhale, the low back presses. Inhaling, the tailbone presses. Exhaling, the low back presses. Inhale, tailbone presses. Exhale, the low back. So creating that rocking motion, and we're moving with the breath. Inhale, tailbone. Exhale, low back presses. Now, extend those arms out to the sides in that T. Maybe readjust the feet so that they're a little bit wider. We're going to drop the knees over to the right on the inhale. You're going to gaze over that left hand. And then exhale, come back to center. Inhale, your knees fall over to the left. And you're going to look over that right hand, and the right palm turns to face up. Exhale to center. Inhale to that opposite side. Exhale, come to center. Inhale, knees to the left, look over the right. Exhale. So you're just going to move through this, just your own steady rhythm. Inhale as the knees fall. Exhale as that low back comes to center. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Inhaling. And exhale. Once again. Inhale. And exhale. So once again, walk those feet back towards your bottom, arms along the sides, and you're going to flow the hips up, flow the arms up over the head. Exhale and release it down, just so that your glutes kiss the mat. Inhale, lift it up, and when you lift up, engage your glute muscles, and I also want you to engage the pelvic floor muscles. Lowering it down, and there's a softening of the glute muscles of the pelvic floor. Inhale, expand and soften, and at the very top, that gentle contraction. And exhale, just lower and soften. Inhaling, expand. Maybe that gentle squeeze engagement. Actually, I don't like the word squeeze. And release, settling it back to the mat. Settle and surrender. Inhale, we open, soften, and then that engagement of the glutes of that pelvic floor. And lower it down. A complete relaxation of the glutes and the pelvic floor. Inhale, open, think expansion, softening, and at the very top, that gentle contraction and engagement. So keep those arms lifted up over the head, and we're just going to come into just some contractions, some engagement of a hip bridge. So we're lowering the glutes and lifting up, but our arms stay extended. Lift it up. So we're firing up this posterior chain of muscles. Keep lifting and lowering your hips. Your knees stay directly over the ankles. And as you lift and lower, press down into the ball of the feet and into the heel. so that the muscles in the feet are active. You're pressing into the balls of the feet, the heels. So one more, lifting it up and lower it down. So settle that low back to the mat. Just bring your hands along the sides or out in a T. And all that we're going to do here is we're going to tap the knees together and then tap the toes together. So we're tapping the knees, tapping the toes. Knees, so we're externally rotating and internally rotating this femur bone within the pelvis. So knees tap and those toes tap. Knees tap and toes tap. Knees tap and toes tap. One more, knees, then toes. So with those legs straight up, let's point and flex the feet. Pointing and flexing, let's circle the ankles. So as we get older, and I've said this to you guys before, our fascia becomes tighter. So our yoga practice, our yin practices, and stretching becomes more important. Now hug those knees into the chest. And I want you to bring your hands to cup the knees. So you're going to circle the knees and then circle the other way. Now, let your knees fall out to the side. So what you're going to do with your hands is you're going to let those knees fall out to the side and you're going to create a circle. So you're circling the knees. So the knees draw in and the knees draw out to the side. They draw in and out to the side. So just that nice smooth movement in the pelvis, and then circle the opposite way. So bring your knees to center, hug them into the chest, and then draw them out. So we're just moving in the opposite direction. One more. Awesome. And then we're going to roll onto our side. So we're going to come onto our side and we're going to, once again, it's an isometric exercise. So what we're going to do is we are going to lift up that heel so we're not knee, all right? So when we lift, the elbow's going to reach up to that outer heel, and then we're going to lower and relax completely. So the exhale, we squeeze that elbow up towards the ankle and release and relax here. Once again, drop up. So draw that elbow, pressing your knees together. So again, this is an isometric exercise. So there's a relaxation phase and then lift it up, squeeze. So squeeze that outer heel higher up towards the ceiling. So press it up and then release and see if you can relax through this hip. Relax in the outer hip. And once more, pressing it up, squeeze it up and releasing and relaxing completely. So I want you to grasp this ankle and you're going to slightly bend that bottom knee. Obviously, if you have that bottom leg straight, you're going to roll forward. So as much as you can, keeping your shoulders stacked. So we're going to stretch out the quads. So when our knee is pointing up towards the ceiling, we don't get quite the stretch that we need for the quads. So trying to keep your knee parallel to that bottom knee. So bringing your knees closer together. So you're going to notice that when you do this, so I don't want that knee pointing up towards the ceiling. Think about that kneecap reaching, pressing towards the bottom of the mat. Settle your shoulders. The head is supported by that bottom arm. And release that. But what we're gonna do is bring the feet together and just this clamshell. So we open it up and we draw it in. So lots of internal and external rotation of the hip. Sometimes in our yoga practice, there's not so much that internal and external rotation. There's more of obviously a very static stretch. But I want to get into the hip flexors and the internal and external rotators because they do affect the knee. So one more, open it up, and then you're just gonna circle this knee, circling it in and releasing it out. And move the other way with that circle. Awesome. And then we're gonna flow onto our back. Flow onto your back, just take a moment, sort of that rebound quality, rocking your knees, so our windshield wiper, and see if with each wipe that you can get the knee a little closer towards the floor, towards the mat. Coming back to center, hugging the knees to the chest. And then we're gonna roll to that opposite side. So come on to that opposite side. Just make sure today, if you need to hydrate, please do that. Just with this humidity, it's extra important. So we're gonna come into this isometric exercise. So we press the knees together and we reach that top elbow to that outer, so knock knees together and release it down. Lifting it up, knees are together and releasing it down. So relax this top left side. Exhale, elbow presses to that ankle. Release it down and release completely. So relax a little more right here, just before we lift. Lots of times in our day-to-day life, we don't take that moment, that little pause. We're on that go, 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 push, 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 and we're always stressing the nervous system. So lift it up, see that contraction, and release, and relax. Relaxing a little bit more before you lift up again. Exhale, lift it up. So we're lifting that elbow up towards the ankle. Squeeze it, and then release it, and relax it. Relax it a little more. Notice if you notice anything different in that outer hip, squeezing it up, elbow towards that ankle. And release it and relax it. Let's let go of that top arm. Find that ease in the shoulder, find that ease, and relax a little bit more. I always find that there's just a little bit of residual. We're in a holding pattern. So as you lay here, relax that shoulder a little more. Relax your low back a little more. Relax your pelvic floor a little more. Alrighty, so grasping this top left ankle, we're gonna come into this quadricep stretch. So I want you to press that left kneecap towards the bottom of your mat. So notice you don't want the knee flaring up towards the ceiling. Keep those legs as parallel as possible. Feeling or pressing that kneecap towards the bottom. So obviously, we do this stretch when we're standing, so we're on the floor like this. We don't have to work against gravity, so that knee presses. And releasing it. So bringing those feet together now. So we're coming into our clamshell. Let that knee release towards the bottom knee, open it up. So thinking about that clamshell. So again, externally rotating, and then our internal rotation. External and internal. External and internal. External. So one more. Now hug this knee up into the chest, circling it out. Hugging it into the chest. And release it out. And the other way. And you might notice this stretch in that outer left hip. And bringing it back. Landing it. So let's come on to our back just for a couple of windshield wipers so knees fall. And see maybe if when that knee falls, that it falls a little bit closer. And then hug those knees into the chest, circling, and then we're gonna rock and roll it forward so that we come onto all fours. So coming up and then transitioning all the way up into our tabletop. So just taking a couple of rounds of our cow up into cat. Breathing. So all the joints, so the shoulder joints, just that nice, easy glide. That low back. And then coming back to neutral, bringing your hands directly beneath the shoulders, then to scoop up. We're gonna flow up into down dog, walking out your downward facing dog. So in our downward facing dog, we feel that stretch in the backs of the legs. So you might feel it all the way down into the calf muscles. Maybe you feel this one more in the hamstrings. So actively press each of your fingers to the earth. For right now, we're just walking out this down dog, keeping a slight bend in the knees, keeping that engagement in the front body. And then just come to your down dog. We're going to lift up onto the balls, feet, lifting the heels, and then settle your heels towards the mat. Breathing. Now, we're gonna look forward. We're gonna step this left foot to the left thumb. I'm just gonna shift, and I want you to have your block handy or your bolster, because we are gonna come into this yin pose. So let's come up into first a low lunge, then we're going to settle into our yin pose, our dragon pose. So everybody just do a little check-in, making sure we don't want to have hips stacked over the knee. To really get into our hip flexor, I want you to lean forward and I want you to lift that knee up and float it back. So if your knees are tender and you need some extra support, fold your mat over, grab another mat, and we're gonna just lift up. And I want you to lift the front of the pelvis in and up. So you're gonna feel this in your hip flexor, all right? So our hip flexors obviously flex the hip. Our quadriceps, they start at the hip and they attach below the knee. So lots of times our quads are tight, so we need to really get into the quads, and it's going to help with our hips and our knees. So release those hands to the mat, taking our dragon. And in our dragon, you also have the option of lowering your forearms to the mat, or bring that floor a little closer. I told you guys to grab your stuff, and I didn't grab mine. So block to the inside, you can be here, or forearms, and we're gonna be here for 3 minutes. So yin poses. Really get into that fascia, to that connective tissue. Everybody check in, make sure that the ankle is below the knee and it's not back behind, all right? You might need to scoot your foot forward so that your ankle joint is just forward of this knee joint, all right? Inhale, finding more length through the spine. Maybe that knee wanders out. Closing those eyes down and finding your edge. So maybe your edge is that you need to back off. Maybe your edge is that your forearms can actually go to the mat, not be on the block. But I want you to just find your edge. Find that breath. Settle into that stillness. Just like at the start of our practice, we practice that deep breath. Once again, find that deep breath. Stay with that breath. And releasing out of your dragon. So maybe you want to press back. I want you to find that rebound. Step that left foot back. So maybe this rebound is a nice big circle. And the other way. moving right now, just where you need that movement. And then let's flow up into down dog. Have that lock handy. Inhale and exhale, settling the heels to the nose. Let your head be heavy. Now look forward, that right foot steps forward. Lower that left knee back behind that left hip. That's the key there. Open it up. So this might feel like a really good stretch in front of your left hip, just depending on what's going on in your hips. Then our hands are going to come to the inside of this right foot. So again, that reminder that this ankle is just slightly ahead of. You want to make sure that your toes aren't back behind the knee. So we're coming into our dragon. So when that knee floats out, that's just called our flying dragon, and that's okay. Finding your edge. Maybe the forearms go to the block or to the floor. Again, honoring where it is that you need to be. Maybe closing those eyes down. Keeping that length through the spine. Saying nice things to your body. Breathing deep. Find that length through the spine. So if you find that you're rounding the spine, then maybe that's your cue that you need to back up, and maybe you need to come here. Keep the length through the spine. Again, finding that edge. And releasing back out of that. Again, that rebound quality. Breathing. And then release that right leg back to the left and take some big circles. And the other way. We're going to come back down onto our bottom. So if we're going to be in a forward fold and a seated forward fold. So if you're super tight in the low back or the hips, I want you to maybe fold up the back of the mat a little bit. I don't want you as high as the bolster. If you're at home and you have a blanket, you can share blankets here. But if you're at home and you have a blanket, but just so that your hips are up a little bit higher. And everyone, just find staff for a moment. So the sit bones are grounding, we're lifting and reaching up through the crown of the head. And we're gonna lengthen forward. So maybe your hands go to your shins, maybe they go to the knees. And in our forward fold, just lift up, find a little more length. And exhale, just folding forward. Sit bones reaching back behind, toes and knees pressing up towards the ceiling. And the crown of your head reaching towards the toes. That breath, subtle and smooth. So if it's super tight in your low back and there's any discomfort, what I would really like you to do is maybe take your blocks, place them under your knees. When we come into our forward fold and we close the eyes down. Bringing our awareness in. Slide those hands back to the level of the knees, pressing it out. Just a nice counter stretch. Let's lift up that chest, open it up. Breathing. So we're going to transition to this quad stretch. So if you're at home and you have a blanket, or if you have a smaller bolster, what we're going to do is we're going to roll up that mat. We're going to roll up the bolster. Let's roll up the bolster. The blanket. So what we want to do is where that mat is rolled up, we're going to place it, and this is where your 2 blocks might come in. Placing it just so, can you guys see my feet? So that it's just behind. So we don't want to sink into this. This shouldn't, there shouldn't be a lot of pressure on your knee. And our rolled blanket, you may need to roll more, Michelle. Nancy, you may need to roll a little bit more. Rosemary, I'm thinking use your blanket, roll it up. And no, just put that underneath your ankles. Yeah. So what we're going to do is you're going to lengthen back. All right. So you're pressing I still might need a little more here, so that when you, obviously, you're gonna want some cushioning under your knees. So that we're going to reach back, pressing those knees towards the mat. And you should feel a really good stretch. Can everybody feel that in their quads? So actually, I want to. So when you need a little rest, I think that big bolster is too much, but I'm going to just play with that. It might be too much. So pressing those knees to the mat, lifting up the hips. So a nice big front body opener. Lift up your hips. The smaller bolster is actually the perfect size for this, or your rolled up blanket. Press those knees to the mat. So lower it down. Just take a moment and you can shake it out here. We're gonna do that once more. So that bolster, yeah, underneath, walk it back. Now, everybody's knees feel okay? Can you feel that stretch? Lift your hips up. Press your knees to the mat. Breathe in here, opening that front body. So lower body connective tissue. So those tendons. So our tendons are plastic. Our muscle fibers are more elastic. So in order to make changes, so it needs to be slow and steady in the tendons. So longer holds, more breath. Lower your bottom. Walk it forward. Shake out those ankles. And then we're gonna release. Actually, take the bolster out. We haven't done this one for a little bit because I truly hate it. Yeah, so if anyone experiences any sort of plantar fasciitis, any tightness in the bottom of your feet, curl those toes under. So again, this comes into that fascia, right? So we have muscles and fascia in the bottom of the foot. Don't let your ankles wander out to the sides. Try to keep those ankles more together, and then you come back. I hate it because it hurts my feet, but it's really good to stretch out the bottom of your feet. So doing it, breathing, obviously get longer with the holds. Take a little break when you need it. So just depending on what's going on with your feet, lots of times in the summer, we tend to go barefoot more, obviously. So take it back. And again, I think orthotic supportive shoes are great, but I also think that we need time to be barefoot, to ground, to connect to nature. One of the things they say, obviously forest bathing, but for our mental, physical well-being, we need to get outside, connect to nature. So go barefoot. And just release that. So you can do that little shake. And we're gonna go back once more. And again, I hate this, but it's really good for you. Curl those toes under. And send back. Smile. No cursing. So again, all of this connects to our hips, right? That fascia on the back of our body, the fascia on the front of our body. and releasing it. Shake it out, that rebound quality. So that's your homework. Everybody needs to go barefoot this weekend for a little bit of time. Obviously, you know, when you have been using orthotics or supportive shoes, our feet adjust to that. So again, orthotics are great, barefoot is great, and time in both. So this stretch, our front body stretch, I do find it way more effective, but you sort of have to get that proper height for you. Rosemary, how did you find it with the blanket?
Okay, but I feel it with that.
Okay, okay. All right, so maybe something under the knee. But so we're gonna come on to our back because I want to get into our IT band, the TFL. So we're gonna come on to our back. Something too, if that one's intense, a great stretch. So just like we were in our lizard, so without a foam roller, having a block and putting that block into, so you get that fascial release and holding it there is really good for those quads. Yeah, slight tip forward. Can you feel that? Is that feel okay?
It's good.
Okay. So that's a great one if you're having knee pain and you need to stretch out. So you can do that with a block. You can do it with a foam roller. Foam roller, obviously you roll it. Or if you can use a ball. So there are yoga tune-up balls, but pressing into that if you're experiencing knee pain with activity. So just using that block to really get into that fashion. So we're going on our back. And again, for that fascial release, try for 2-3 minutes. So in this that TFL release, we're going to come to this figure 4 position. So everybody have their right ankle over their left knee. And let's just start with our figure 4. Flex the feet, bring this left calf muscle parallel to your mat. And we're going to draw our nose up to our knees, a gentle squeeze, and release. Again, I want you to breathe, settling that low back, settle the shoulders, our head, our neck, our shoulders, come back to the nose. Now this right foot, keeping your knee and foot together, arms go out to the sides. Our right foot comes to the floor on that right side. And we're gonna look over this right shoulder. Settle your shoulders back to the mat. Maybe use your left hand to gently press that right knee away. But you're gonna feel this in this outer right hip. Take your gaze over that right shoulder. rolling back onto your back. And just find that rebound quality. You can rock, just whatever works. And then we're gonna bring the left ankle over top of this right knee, flex your feet, drive your nose towards your knee, that gentle contraction, that squeeze, and then settle your head and your shoulders back to the mat. So this right shin, right calf is parallel to the mat. Don't let it fall towards your bottom. Lift it up. We're gonna let this left foot fall over to the right. So if you're super tight, you also have the option of landing that left foot on your block. So again, using your props is just about bringing that floor closer to you. Look over your left shoulder. Maybe the right hand gently presses that left knee away. And everybody keeping the left ankle in contact with the knee. Feeling this in the outer left hip. Keep that left flowing. And flow back onto your back. Just moving those hips, the knees, just however it is that you need that rebound. So we're gonna take our happy baby just before we settle into Shavasana. So the knees pressing towards the side body, grasping the outer edge of the feet. If you're super tight, then maybe you need to just link the arms around the outer knees. So actively press the feet into the hands as if you're going to press your feet up to the ceiling. And then release it and relax the knees so they settle a little closer. And releasing it. Make your way, find your way to Shavasana. So settling, find that support. Gently rock your legs from side to side. You roll the head from side to side. So if you need a bolster underneath your knees, use that bolster. But Good. Support the body. So when our body is relaxed and at ease, our mind, our brain is more readily able to find ease. So once again, reconnect to that slow, steady breath. Inviting that breath deep into the body. Just imagining that you can breathe that breath all the way down into the toes. And as that breath releases, cleansing, releasing. Slowly wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Gently turn to your favorite side. And then as you're ready, just come into your seated, easy pose. Come into your seated, easy pose. Hands resting on the knees, thumb and first finger together. That seal of consciousness. Bringing your hands together and take those thumbs and just plugging them into that third eye center. May you have kind and loving thoughts. Bringing your hands just over the mouth and over the throat. May the words we speak be filled with loving kindness. Bring the thumbs just to gently plug into that heart center. Plugging in to that unconditional love and acceptance for yourself Thank you, ladies. So just a couple of things just before we finish up. If you haven't downloaded the app or been on the Wix website, if you can do that and just book your classes, I go in manually and just double check. So most everyone has gone in and registered with their monthly membership, which is great, thank you. But it doesn't automatically put you in the class. So if you can just go through and just register for the classes, I would greatly appreciate that. Just sometimes when I'm going to send out the link, I'm afraid I'm gonna miss somebody. So it's double checking and just double checking. So if you could do that, I would greatly appreciate it. For September, our classes will continue. I'm going to still offer Zoom. We can be in the studio, but again, there's just going to be 6 spaces. So we need to be socially distanced, mind you, if this 4th wave hits, but let's not go there. Yeah, so if you want to be in class, just send me an email so that I know. And then there will not be any classes that first week of September, or sorry, after Labor Day. I'm having surgery on the 7th for my left hand. So I better just go easy that week, which I'm not good at. But in order for this hand to heal better than this hand did, I better not do anything that first week. So we will be back to our regular schedule. So that would be Monday the 13th, I think is the Monday. Yeah, so that's everything, and we will see you next week, if not before. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Hi, Heather.
See you.